Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video, we're going to take a look at Lords of Vegas. Lords of Vegas is a dice-intensive game in which players are playing as a casino boss in Las Vegas. Let's jump right in with the description of the rules, see a few example turns being played, then I'll be back for some closing remarks. This is Lords of Vegas, set up for a 3-player game. To set up, you give each player the chips and dice in their color, and then you put their scoring marker on the 0 space of the scoring track. Sort the casino tiles by type and form a stack of each, and then just sort the money to form a bank as well. Remove the end of game card from the deck and just set it aside. It looks like this. It says game over on it. Then you shuffle the deck of cards and deal 2 to each player, and they're going to put their markers on the different spaces. So for instance, this red player got F1 and A2, these cards here, so he has his markers on the corresponding spaces. Also, players get the amount of money as indicated in their card, so this is 8 plus 4, so the red player we know starts with 12 money. After all players do this, they're just going to discard these cards over here visible so everybody can see how many of each card came up. I do want to point out though, in a 2-player game only, anything drawn from the F block is just discarded, another card is drawn to replace it. In a 2-player game, you do not use the F block. The last part of setup is just to divide the deck into 4 relatively even stacks. We're just going to do it very roughly here just to demonstrate. And then the end of round card just goes on top of that 4th stack. And you stack it up and you have a deck and you're ready to start the game. During the game, players are going to take turns in clockwise order, and the turn is composed of 2 phases, which are draw and play. And the game is going to end when that end of round card comes up and is scored. So the first thing you do during your turn is you flip the top card of the deck, and wherever it is, you're going to take claim of that particular area. So we can see this is E6. So E6 is empty, so the guy puts one of his chips on it. If E6 already had a casino there and may even have a die of another player in it, let's pretend it had a 5 green, you would replace that with your matching die value. So now you would claim that casino and you would have a 5 in there. If it was totally empty, you would take it and you would put the same value of the die as on the space here, which is a 6. But nobody owns the space yet, so it's still empty, so you just put one of your markers here like so. Now, no matter what card is drawn, the lots always pay out. Every lot you have is worth $1, so yellow would get $3, green would get 2, and red would get 2. Now, depending on the color of the card, casinos also pay out. So if we pretend we had a gold casino over here because that matches this color, and there was a red player and a yellow player in it, like so, they get amounts of money equal to their pips. So the red player would get $1 because he has 1 pip, and the yellow player would get $6. And lastly, the casino's score. The boss of the casino, that is the player with the highest single value. So we can see here yellow has a 6, even if red had a whole bunch of other die here that added up to way more than 6. So let's pretend this whole thing was this yellow casino. And we can see red has much more value, but yellow is still the boss because that 6 is the highest number. The boss gets 1 point per tile in the casino. So he'd get 1, 2, 3, 4 points. You move up accordingly on the scoring track. If you score multiple casinos, because you're the boss of multiple casinos of the same color, you score them individually. That's significant, and you always go from smallest to largest. That's significant because certain parts of the scoring track, you need to get at least that many points. So if yellow was already up here in space 8, and over here had this casino over here, this would only be worth 1 point because there's only 1 tile in this casino, which is not enough to cross this 2-point bridge. But these 4 points would allow him to move up 2 spaces because each of those required 2 points to pass. So most of the cards are just color-coded, and only the casinos of that color score in addition to the lots. But some of them are the strip, which look like this. Also, the end of game card is a strip, and what that does is it scores all the casinos along the center here. Anything that touches this strip is going to score just as those did and pay in the same manner. But once you conduct payment and scoring, you just discard the card face up in the area so everybody can see it. After a player completes the draw step of their turn, they move on to the play step, where they can perform any number and combination of actions, including build, sprawl, remodel, and reorganize. There's also a gamble action, but players can only perform that once per turn. But we're going to go through each of them in detail. The first is to build. You can choose any lot you own. So you can see here for yellow's turn, he owns E6, E5, and C3, and he could build any of those by paying the amount. So for instance, he could pay $9 million to build on E5, and if this happened, he would just take the money, give it to the bank, and choose any color casino that's available. They are limited, so it has to be available, but we're going to pretend he wants to build this green casino. And then you put your die face up so it matches the value on the space. We can see it's a 3 here, so this would become a 3. Each player's dice are also limited, so in the rare event that a player builds a new part of a casino and they don't have enough dice, they must move a die they already have on the board to that new space, and it will take the value of the space it's moved to. The next action is to sprawl, and unlike build, you have to be the owner of the the casino or the boss of casino in order to do a sprawl action. And the way sprawl works is you pick an unowned area. So for in this instance, this would be unowned, this would be owned, and this would be owned. So this would be the only one that would be pickable. Adjacent to a place you're the boss of, so yellow is clearly the boss here because he's the highest value dice. Then you pay double this amount. So in this case, this costs 12. You'd pay 24 million, and then we'll get to place a new casino of the same color here, along with the matching dice that matches the space. The danger of sprawling, though, is later if somebody draws the E4 card, they may take over this casino. Also, just like the build action, if you're out of die, you have to move one from another place to the area you sprawl to. Any new place you put on the board, you have to put a dice in, even if that means sacrificing one somewhere else. The next possible action is remodel. And to remodel, you have to be the boss of the casino that you want to remodel. So in this case, yellow is the boss, so he could do this. And you pay $5 per tile in the casino. So this casino has 2 tiles, so that would cost $10. So you'd pay that to the bank. Then he changes the entire color of the casino. So for instance, it could now be a silver casino. And again, these are limited, so you can only change to a casino color that can totally remodel as needed. Next is reorganize, and let's pretend for this that green has a thing here worth 2, and it's going to be silver to match the other. If green build here on a turn, he wouldn't have to build it silver, though he could build it any color he wants. But he's going to build it silver, and he's going to perform a reorganize action. And the way reorganize action works is you pay based on the number of pips there. So this is 7 plus 2. There's 9 pips here, so he pays $9 to the bank, and then all of these dice are re-rolled. So he got a 6, which is very good, and these guys got a 6 and a 4. Now, because there's a tie for boss, this can happen after any action, but it's most common after this one here. If there's ever a tie for boss in any situation for any region, the tied dice are re-rolled, and they're going to continue to be re-rolled until there's only one boss, and that's by player color. So if yellow had 2 6s, you wouldn't need to re-roll, but you can see here green and yellow are still tied. So green really wants to be the boss, but it just keeps going down, and then there's a 4 and there's a 3. So yellow maintains being the boss after a few re-rolls. You can reorganize as much as you want in a turn, but you can only reorganize each die once. So he's already reorganized these dice here, so he cannot redo this particular casino. Even if the casino added some more tiles to it, these could never, again, be reorganized this turn only. I also want to point out that you can only reorganize in a casino where you have at least one die. So the red player, for instance, couldn't reorganize here just to cause mayhem. And the last possible action is gamble, and this is the only action that can only be done once per turn no matter what. So let's pretend it's the red player's turn. He can gamble at the casino of another player where that player is the boss. So yellow's the boss over here, and yellow's the boss over here, and yellow's the boss over here. The size of the casino only matters in that you're allowed to bet up to $5 per tile. So red would be eligible to bet only $5 here, up to 15 here, and up to 20 here. He decides he wants to bet in this casino over here, but he's only going to bet $6. So he's against the house now, which is yellow. So yellow would take the house card because he is the boss of the casino where the red player is gambling. Because the red player is the gambler, he's going to roll some dice. However, before he does that, the yellow player, or the boss player of the casino he's going to, has to decide if they're going to lay off part of the bet. We know the red player's bet 6, so the yellow player could take that whole bet of 6, or he could split it with the bank 50-50 and lay it off, meaning he would take risk for 3 of it, and he would give the bank risk for 3 of it. So the yellow player decides to take on the full bet, so the red player is going to roll 2 dice. So he rolls them, and he got a 6. Now, unfortunately for the red player, he loses on 5, 6, 7, or 8. But he would have won on 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, and on 2 and 12 he pays double. So he bet 6, so he's actually going to have to pay the yellow player 6 money because he rolled a 6. But had he rolled a 9, the yellow player would have to pay him 6. Had he rolled a 2 or a 12, the yellow player would have to pay him double. So in that case, it would be 12 if he had rolled a 2 or a 12. Now, if the yellow player had laid off part of his bet with the bank, the yellow player would get 3 from red, and 3 of that would go from the bank. Also, it always rounds down. So if the red player bet 7 and he laid off part of the bet and the red player won, he would only have to pay 3 to the red player instead of 4, while 4 would come from the bank. However, if he won, meaning the red player rolled a 5, 6, 7, or 8, he would only receive 3, and the bank would receive 4. Also, if you go gamble at a casino and you win, but the boss doesn't have enough money to pay you the full amount you're owed, he pays what he can, and the rest you're just going to lose. So think carefully about where you want to gamble. The last thing to cover is trading, and trading can be done at any time, even out of your own turn. Players can trade money, lots, dice in casinos, and actions. When trading a lot, you just replaced your marker with the other person. So yellow could trade with red, and it would go there. You can't really give anything away in the game, by the way, but you have to actually trade stuff. But you can trade die in casinos, and it works the same way. So if red traded this to yellow, it would always be the same value as the red one leaving the casino. It's also important to note that you cannot trade promises of things to happen in the future at any time, and players can never take an action outside their own turn. But you can certainly pay someone to take an action. That would count as a valid trade. trade. The game continues like this until the end of game card is drawn, in which case the strip is scored one final time. After that, the game ends immediately. It's also possible that the game ends if a player gets to 90, they get an instant win, but that's very, very unlikely, and as the rulebook said, I don't think it's ever occurred. But that's the game, so whoever has the most points wins after that end of game card comes up. Let's get going with this example playthrough so you can see the cards already dealt out to the player. So the yellow player got E3 and A4, so he's going to mark those on the board with his markers here. So he's got E3 as well. And then because his cards say 6 and 5, he's going to start with 11 money. So these just go over here. We're going to do the same thing for each of the other players. After that point, we're ready to start the game. The end of round card has already been inserted in the deck. So we're all set up and ready to get going with the game turn. So the yellow player is going to go first, and he's going to reveal that top card. He got D9, so he's going to mark D9 with one of his chips because it's empty. And now all the players are going to score based on the casinos of this color, which nobody has any yet, and the lots. So the yellow player is going to get 3 money because he has 3 lots. The green player is going to get 2 money, and the red player is going to get 2 money as well. So now the yellow player is going to take his turn after discarding this card to the side. I also want to point out that in a 2-player game, if any card in the F area is drawn, you do not put one of your markers there. However, you do still score, so everybody would get paid and score based on that color, but then you just keep drawing until you get a non-F block card. But anyway, it's the yellow player's turn, and he can take some different actions. One of the first things he's going to do is he's going to build something. So he only has 14 million, and this costs 15 to build here. That's where he really wants to build, but he decides he's going to go build over here for 9. So he's going to pay to the bank $9 million. And then he's going to replace this lot with a casino. Because there's a number 3 here, he gets to put a number 3 die in the space, and then he's going to pick the purple casino. He can pick any color he wants as long as it's available. He's picking purple because none of the purple cards have been drawn yet, and now he can continue taking actions, but he's going to stop for this turn. So we're going to move on to the green player, who just reveals the top card of the deck, and he got C4. So he's going to mark C4 because we know it's empty. We're going to jump ahead a little later in the game so you can see some more interesting situations. Welcome back. So now the green player's turn, so he's going to flip the top card, and it's a purple one, and it's D6. So he's going to mark D6 on the board, but now we still score the lots as normal, so the lots are going to get $2 for green, $2 for red, and $2 for yellow. So everybody gets 2 there. But now the purple casinos are going to pay out as well. So the yellow player is going to get an additional 3 because he has value 3 pips there. And the green player is going to get 3 as well because 2 plus 1 is 3. But now the purple casinos are going to score. So the boss of each casino only, even if there's a lot of different dice colors in one casino, is going to get the number of points based on the size of that casino. So this yellow player over here gets 1 point. And this green player over here, even though he only has a 2, is still the boss, gets 2 points. And then this one just goes over here as normal. And then we're going to proceed like so. We'll come back a little bit later in the game so you can see some different actions taking place. Welcome back to the red player's turn, and he's going to sprawl here. So that normally costs 8, but because he's sprawling, because he's the boss of this casino, it costs 16. So he pays 16 to the bank, and he gets to make a casino of the same color. So he gets that, and he gets to put the 1 on it. Now he's going to remodel these, and because this is a group of 2, it's going to cost 10, which is 5 per tile. So he pays that to the bank, and now these are becoming silver. So he has now become the boss of this new silver casino that is along the strip because this tile touches here. Now for his last action, he's just going to gamble this at the green player's casino, and it's just a 1, so the green player says, okay, I'll take it. His casino is over here, by the way. So he rolls an 11, so the green player actually has to pay him that 1. And for his last action, he just decides to spend these 2 to see if he can get a higher number here. Remember, you have to pay the number of pips that are present in a casino. There's only 2 pips here, so he paid 2, and now he's up to a value 5 there. So he's pretty happy about that. We're going to jump ahead to the final situation so you can see the end of the game. Welcome back. It's getting near the end of the game. It's the yellow player's turn, so he's going to go ahead and flip a card, and it is, in fact, the game over card. So we are going to pay the strip one last time. So the first thing we would do is we would give out money for the different lots on the board. So the red player has 5 lots, so red would get $5. Yellow would get $2, and green has 3. So green would get $3. But now we're going to pay the strip. So everything along the strip gets money and scores. Money is the tiebreaker, so you may want to pay it out if it's a close game like it is here. But you always go from the smallest size casino to the largest. So the smallest along the strip is a tie between these 2 here. So first, the yellow player would get $18, and the green player would get $2, and the yellow player is the boss, so the yellow player gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. This costs 5 to cross, So the yellow player just crosses it fine. And then down here, green gets another 2, yellow gets another 3, and red gets 13, but red is the boss, so red gets 5 points because that casino is size 5. So then the next biggest casino, or the next smallest rather, would be this one over here at 8. It looks like yellow is the boss of that because red tried to reorganize and got a whole bunch of 2s, and yellow was able to get a 4. So red's going to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 11 money, while yellow gets 8. But yellow gets 8 points, which is enough to move up 1. Next, we have both of these are at 9, so we can just do this one over here first. Green is the boss because green has the highest value die, so green gets 9 points. And over here, green is the boss. Green advances 9, but again, 9 is just going to cross 1 threshold here. So yellow is going to be the big winner of the game. Lords of Vegas is an interesting game. There's a lot of different things you can do on your turn and the different actions, and there's definitely a lot to consider. So there's, strategic decisions to make and things like that. But a big part of the game is really just weighing your odds because it is incredibly random, but, the statistics are kind of laid out for you just the same. That randomness, some people love it, especially because it ties in with the theme, but some people can get very frustrated, especially if you try to reorganize a group where you have 5 dice and the other guy has 1 and he rolls a 6 and you roll a bunch of 2s or something. It can be very frustrating, but the game is fun and you can make trades and stuff. It's an interactive game. It's not the world's most serious game, but it is a fun one and it plays neat. I know some people that I introduced this to that it's their absolute favorite game. They always want to play it. They just love the zaniness, the wackiness of it. So if it looked neat to you, check it out. That's Lords of Vegas.